This episode of the Doin Alright podcast is presented by our great friends at Prize Picks.
And it is your questions and answers editions of the Doin Alright podcast here on this Thursday. Bryan, you got 2 more practices in you out there, Bryan, on location?
Yes, sir, I do. Got a practice on Thursday, a practice on Friday, and then I switch off, and I know you're coming this way because I've got all these itineraries for you now in my folder. So I'll have to pass those along to you, but I know there's folks out here asking, hey, when's Voch coming out here? When's Voch? I said, you'll see Voch on Saturday. You will hear Voch on Saturday. So I know there are a lot of folks that are excited about having you out here, and it should be a good opportunity, Voch, for you. Camp's off to, I think, a good start in a lot of ways, but now we're going to start to get, more padded practices. We're going to get teamwork against other teams. So I say you get practice against other teams. Mm-hmm. So these last 11 days or so are going to be probably some of the best content that we're going to have going as we go through camp and see through the duration of it.
As long as they got continental breakfast, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm one of them old school characters, you know what I'm saying? I used to go to Shoney's Inn, you feel me? As long as they got continental breakfast, we good.
Can I tell a real quick story about this? This is terrible. Please. Real quick story. Please. When I was working for, I was a contractor. I was working with ESPN Dallas. I was in between kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do in media, but I was working for ESPN Dallas. Training camp was in San Antonio. I was standing in a hotel that didn't have continental breakfast, but the hotel next door did. And we were so broke, paying like, hey, listen, you could go cover camp, but we're not going to be able to pay you this or pay you that. I said, okay. So I stand at this hotel. I literally every morning would pack my scouting bag and go over to the hotel next door, grab breakfast, put some bananas, bagels in my scouting bag, and then head over to the Alamo Dome to watch practice every day. Yeah. So I kind of figured out how to, I hate to say this, I admitted maybe manipulating the system, but I did what I had to do to survive. That's kind of, I just went into survival mode. Bryan, but that continental breakfast next door at that hotel was really, really, really good. And I appreciate that hotel in San Antonio. And anytime I could do business with it in San Antonio, I go do business with it.
If I tell you about my old life, I'm going to jail for embezzlement, and it might be a RICO involved. So you going to some hotel that you wasn't staying at just to have some breakfast because they don't know that you don't stay there. And I'm sure you're fine, Bryan. I'm positive.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you never know what you want to say. We got a lot of people that watch the show. I'm just. Hey, okay. You do what you have to do. You do what you have to do to kind of get to the next job, right?
Yeah. Long as no money was exchanged in hands.
No, nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt.
You should be fine. They don't even know what hotel it is. That hotel don't even exist no more, Bryan. Couple things I wanted to run by you there, Mr. Broaddus. Yesterday, I did get an opportunity to double back with you on your homework assignment. We got caught up in the great conversation that we were having, I forgot to double back on you there. I got some couple things there. I reached out to some of our audience there, and I asked them if they had questions. They dropped some of those, and then Voch also had a couple of things I wanted to run by you. So we're going to do that, but let's kick it off in this way. We never got an opportunity to talk about our 3 guys that I gave you for your homework assignment. We got Tyler Booker, Donovan Ezeiruaku, and LT Overton. Now, the day I asked you to kind of keep eyes on Donovan Ezeiruaku, he got into a fight with one of these characters and got kicked out of practice. Philosophically, let me just start here, Bryan. Philosophically, what you think about this idea y'all as need to be physical, but you better not be fighting or I'm gonna kick you out of practice? Because I don't want to sound like old guy in this, we've had all these older football cats here, but it's like, I remember one time a coach encouraged us to fight because we wasn't tough enough. You know what I mean? Right. But Shotty's coming from this stance of, I don't want y'all fighting at all or you getting kicked out of practice. What did you think of that, Bryan, philosophically?
Yeah, I'm all for the fights until somebody breaks a hand.
Yeah.
I think that's where you kind of draw the line. I mean, these players, heat of battle, Voch, you and I have been there. We've been through 2-a-day practices when it was 95 degrees, 90% humidity. Mm-hmm. You're tired, you're hot, you're irritated. Coaches has been yelling at you. The guy across from you is kind of kicking your ass. Yeah. there's a lot of times where you just don't think and you throw a punch and you land on the side of a helmet and broken fingers, broken hands. I've seen guys fight, get thrown to the ground and, hurt shoulders, but the way they landed, back, stuff like that. Listen, there's an old school mentality to it. And, I was watching a clip this morning from the University of Colorado. They were showing, they're talking about Coach Sanders, and it's like, well, this is why there's no discipline. These guys are always fighting and all that. I'm like, there's a point to that, but you do want to see your team have a little bit of that in them, that they're willing to. But a lot of it has to do with, like you say, you feel like somebody did you wrong. And Shottie's mentality about it is like, hey, get back in the huddle. Let's get to the next play. Let's do it with our pads. Let's do it between the whistles. That's kind of his mentality. And I can understand that too, but I really do understand the taking a swing at somebody and breaking a hand, because I've seen it. I've seen it happen. And every time I've seen it happen, I've gone, that wasn't very smart. I remember practices, Voch. I'm sure you could be the same way, where guys would fight and they would just move the drill over.
Yeah.
Just, okay, you guys just go fight and we'll just move the drill over and we don't have time for this. And, but I think the thing that I want to see fight, but I don't want to see injury with fight. And I think that's what I think Shottie's trying to prevent.
Makes sense. So leading up to that, did Donovan Ezeiruaku have a decent day of practice? Was he beating up on somebody? But also too, Bryan, like we know that he's decent in the run game, or that's what he showed us last year. But do you feel like his pass rush has taken the next step?
Yeah, there has been times where he has gotten to work against, whether that's Steele or Guyton, and he's had some quality rushes. The thing that you notice about him is that because of the hip injury, I was really worried about flexibility. I was worried about the ability to bend. I was worried about the ability initially to turn and to be able to generate enough power to complete a rush. And he looks good. That part of it is he's always kind of been good with the hands. It's, can you get the edge, and then can you close? And we've seen that a couple of different times from him, where he's been able to, or he's just flat run by somebody, off the snap, first step quickness, boom, he's off the ball. This might be some of the reasons why some of the talk has maybe died down about the pass rush, because they want to see what they've got in Malachi Lawrence. They want to see what they have in Sam Williams. They want to see what they have in Gary. They want to see what they have in Houston. Maybe it's died down a little bit. The one-on-ones wasn't very good for the guys, for those guys. But I think overall, when they have the team periods and those kinds of situations, I think Donovan Ezeiruaku has shown that he's not letting the hip or the injury take away from his ability to do his job.
I just think the Cowboys have a lot kind of riding on the back of Donovan Ezeiruaku, like being good, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's why this conversation about pass rusher is, or going to get somebody from the outside, maybe that's why that conversation is still kind of lingering a little bit. I like Donovan Ezeiruaku. 2 sacks last year. I mean, he has some pressures also, about 25 or so pressures. Somebody's going to correct me in the chat. And decent in the run game, but I don't think that's enough for me to just flat out be like, all right, the whole world and right side of the defense is in your hands. You know what I'm saying? I would love it if Donovan Ezeiruaku was like your third guy. And you could have fantastic third guys. There's dudes on the market this year, free agency, that were third guys. Like Boye Mafe was a third guy coming off the bench and all this kind of stuff. I would love it if Donovan Ezeiruaku was like a real good third, and we go get some help for real.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's the evaluation process is, I was really worried that he was going to lose a lot. I was worried that because of the hip, because of how he had to deal with that, and not, all he's doing was rehabbing all summer. I was worried is he going to lose that explosiveness. I think in year two, I just think, Voch, when you come out here, you're going to see these guys they're coached a different way. They're coached a different way, and it's very reminiscent of when the Dan Quinn regime was here, and how they were coaching their guys. And they kind of lost their way with the Mike Zimmer regime. They lost their way with the Matt Eberflus regime. This group has a different way of going about how they're working with their guys. Aiden Durdee was really hands-on, really technical. He's done a great job, going up to Seattle and getting that crew lined up. He's just a really good coach. And I kind of feel we're kind of dealing with the same with these guys. I told you I was going to watch the coaches coach, and I've been impressed. I've been impressed with what I've seen from that defensive side of the ball, especially along the defensive line spot.
Man, Bryan, it's just that I feel like if you ask the people at the Cowboys and you ask them about the rushers on their team, they're going to find a way to include Quinnen and Kenny. And that's all right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think what we all want is a complement of rushers alongside Quinnen and Kenny. That's why I think that conversation comes from. Bryan, I also did you have an update on we talked about it yesterday. You were telling me that Sam was doing a little better than Malachi. Yeah. That also gives me some pause, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, if Sam is doing better than Malachi, then cool, fine. But I don't want to live in this world where Sam is my fourth best rusher. Like, I kind of want Sam to at least be 5 or so. And we don't know where James Houston is. When I get out there, I'm going to chronicle the hell out the D-line or whatever. So we're going to really figure out where these guys are, where they are in relation to, like, the Rams O-line and stuff like that, and the Saints and that. Like, we're really going to figure this thing out before we get to week 1. But I still think that there's questions about the pass rush. I know that the Jordan Brooks news is exciting. If it even happens, that's all if. But I really hope that the Cowboys aren't sleeping on pass rush at this point, Bryan.
No, and Voch, I'm sorry. You good? Please. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, did it? You good with what you were saying? You finished there?
Please, hurry, please. Don't lose that.
I'm sorry. I thought you had one more comment you were going to make, and I didn't want to interrupt you there. I think the thing, when I make the statement about Sam Williams being better now, I think you made an excellent point yesterday. You're like, well, damn, Bryan, I hope that Sam Williams is better. He's had years of doing this. I would hope. I'm just saying that Sam Williams, maybe there's something that's clicked there. Maybe there's something that after all these seasons of being undisciplined, having talent, not being able to get on the field, not being able to do things, maybe things have clicked. That is not a slam at Malachi Lawrence. I think Malachi Lawrence has done some really good things through 7 practices. I think there's some positivity when you watch him. That first step, the way he physically just gets after the tackles, the way he's able to chase. I mean, you see 57, but where you also kind of are in that mode right now of you're like, well, wow, wait a minute. I'm noticing, 54 too. 54 is showing up. He's okay. Look at him chase. Look at him play the run. Look at him create pressure. Those are like, one guy's a veteran, one guy's a rookie. But man, I didn't listen. I had one foot in the parking lot on Sam Williams. I think everybody knows that. Like, why do you hate Sam Williams? I don't hate Sam Williams. I hate the fact that Sam Williams didn't always play up to his potential. Yeah. That's what I hated about Sam Williams. But Sam Williams, there's something different, and that's through 7 practices. That it's like, I think Sam Williams realizes that maybe somebody got to him. Sir, you're at the crossroads right now. You and Jonathan Mingo and guys like that. You guys are on. You got one foot in the parking lot, and I think some of these guys are starting to realize that. And I like what I've seen from Malachi Lawrence, but I also like what I've seen from Sam Williams as well.
Yeah. I also asked you about Tyler Booker. I know we kind of see him in passing. There was this one day that I kind of watched him, and he was having a really good fight with Clark. But what do the close eyes say about Tyler Booker and how he's doing?
Listen, there's the thing that there's been several practices where the ball has gone off that right side, and it's a press and it's go. It's not a press and a cut to the left to get behind. And Guyton and Smith and Beebe have done a good job on that left side. When you see them cut that ball, there's lanes. But there's been some runs where it has been press the right and go. And that's Beebe, Booker, and Steele. And with Steele, I think it's getting used to now playing with Booker. Booker just has, and you've documented this, with him at Alabama, and we were doing the draft process, and you document it when we were watching film during last season, his rookie year. There's so much power in that body and that ability to move his feet and stay connected to his guy and push. And that's where they've taken advantage of him in the run game. I think he's getting better. We're starting to see with Christian Parker, we're starting to see blitzes. The closer they've been getting to the red zone, we're starting to see blitzes. He, Blue, Williams, Maffa, these backs, they're sorting it out the correct way. The pickups have been. The one thing that I've kind of always noticed about with Booker is maybe the awareness of when it's the twist stunt. Maybe when it's the drive and it's the post and then the looper, where he might get a little too attached to a guy and then miss. I think there's better awareness from him of, okay, get that guy to Steele or get that guy to BB and then be aware of where I need to be to pick the guy coming up. I think there's the strength, the power, all that stuff has always been there. I think you're starting to see better awareness as a player and the way that they're able to solidify that front and then also be able to work with whatever back is playing behind them.
Yeah, fair enough. I got one more guy for you, Bryan, but we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
This episode is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks has an offer for new users. Play your first lineup of $5 or more, and if that lineup wins, you'll get $150 in bonus lineups. Just use the code HMA when you sign up. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app, and it's really simple to use. For player picks, choose more or less on a few stats and build your lineup. You can also make team picks by choosing the winner, spread, or total on a game or fight. Prize Picks is available in most states, including Texas, California, and Florida. You can also follow me on the app at Crown Media. Check out my latest lineups and tail my picks with just one click. All right, so let me show you the lineup I put together today. Let's start in Cleveland with all-star starting pitcher Foster Griffin. We're going to go less than 5 strikeouts against the New York Mets. And then for the New York Mets, let's go with Nolan McLean, less than 8.5 strikeouts against the Cleveland Guardians. Again, that's Prize Picks. Use our code HMA at sign up to win $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. Good luck tonight.
Bryan, one last guy, we're talking about powerful people from Alabama. Now, LT Overton was a guy that I was pretty critical of in the draft process, and the Cowboys are changing to this new scheme, and he fits this new scheme. So, hey, knock yourself out, Cowboys. But the idea around his draft profile is that he's a big, strong, long guy, some good athleticism to him. I didn't always see that on the film. Jerry came out and said that he's going to be doing OSA things. I think that's a lie. I think whoever gives Jerry information was just incorrect about that one. It is what it is. But moving forward, like I said, I'm going to be keeping eyes on him. But when I asked you about it, Bryan, LT Overton, what did you see from him? Which team did he come out in? Was he a second, third team guy? Was he the big man? Did he move around a little bit? LT Overton thought he was going to be playing some outside linebacker too. That is a lie. What did you see from LT Overton, Bryan?
Voch, I think what we've seen from LT Overton is what we saw at Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's you're waiting for a guy who does have power and does have length and does have the ability to control blocks.
Mm-hmm.
That has not been the case. I think I was hopeful that playing the 4-eye or playing head up or playing as the 3 technique, the hey, this is going to be the Osa guy. That's not the case. He does not have that. He does not have that ability to play that quick. He plays with power. He plays with his length, but he is never, ever going to be a player that you're going to say, boy, look at that first step quickness. Boy, look at that explosiveness. Boy, look at him get across the line of scrimmage there. He is a guy that could be a very steady player. He's never going to be spectacular. He's always going to be a guy that people are probably going to question because the production is probably not going to be great. And I know he's 7 practices in, but he looks a lot like what the guy we saw at Alabama. We saw a guy, initially he was a guy that was very, very high up the charts when it came to, you got to evaluate this guy. This is what he does. And then in reality, he's a 4th round pick. So he's kind of playing like right now.
Yeah.
He's playing like a guy that we saw at Alabama. Occasionally you see him extend on the guys that he's up against. You see him working against Shelton and guys like that. That's cool. That's what, that's kind of what he does, and he's going to look good doing it sometimes. And then other times you're not even going to know he's on the field. And you notice him, because of, he wears number 99. So you're like, okay, but you look at the end of the play, is he near where the ball is?
Sure.
And there's a lot of times through 7 practices, as we've seen, that hasn't always been the case.
All right, then we're gonna move on. Then, Bryan, we got some questions from the people. Reached out to them. They had some good stuff in there. We'll be going over these for the next couple of days, as long as we need some stuff here. Let me ask you this, Bryan. Point After Football says this. He says we always talk about the top guys. Who are some key floor raisers compared to last season, and how do numbers 47 through 52 on the roster compare to the previous year? Now, that's a loaded question, and this is why I like to ask questions for people's questions. Bryan, how do you feel like the depth of the team compares this year versus last year? And honestly, depth is really just the dudes that's losing the battles. You know what I'm saying? So if Shamar James doesn't win the battle, he turns into one of your depth guys. But is he close to being a starter? Can he reach out and touch the guys that's in front of him? That's kind of how I rank the depth guys, Bryan. What do you think the depth looks like this year?
The depth at running back is very good. The depth at wide receiver has a chance to be good. I think right now Jonathan Mingo is the 4th wide receiver. We're trying to figure out 5 and 6. The running back room, I think that you could.
Let me just pause you right there, Riff. As you saying, Mingo has passed Turpin in the wide receiver room.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I think so. They want to keep using Turpin in the little gadget roles and stuff like that. I mean, Turpin is not on the field as much as Mingo is.
Okay,
Mingo is they've allowed Mingo to take more reps, so Turpin still gets opportunity, but not like Mingo does. Mingo's getting more reps.
I kind of like that a little bit, Bryan.
I do too.
I kind of like the idea that we're removing wide receiver responsibility from Turpin. I do like that.
And listen, I'm going to be real honest about that group. Holden needs to show up. Anthony Smith needs to show up. Mims needs to show up. Those guys. I mean, they've given Valdez-Scantling. They've given him opportunity. He's made a play or two, but I would take Mingo over Valdez-Scantling if it was me as the 4th receiver. So I think I still think they're looking for that 5th guy, and potentially if they want to carry a 6th guy, which, if nobody fits that bill, just go short, find a 5th guy and move on, or just go 4 and, put everybody on the practice squad you can get. But I like what I'm seeing at running back. I like 4 wide receivers. They've only got 3 tight ends right now. They really, really do. Nobody's taking Luke Schoonmaker's job. Triggs not stepping up. Rogers not stepping up. We lost Fant the other day. We'll see today if they make an addition. They might just use Hunter Lipke more over there, for the spot. But nobody's taking Luke Schoonmaker's job. Hopefully that if you're a fan of Fant of Trigg and Rogers and those guys, I think through 7 practices they need to step up. The offensive line's got 6 guys right now. That's the depth at that position is not great. And I think they're still trying to find players 7, 8, and 9 there. And we'll see if they do. I mean, I think Johnny Cornelius, who we've kind of talked about, that maybe there were some things, maybe there's some upside, maybe there's some things that he could build on in year 2. It looks like some of the same struggles. They're trying to play him at guard. They're trying to play him at tackle. Nate Thomas hasn't particularly got any better. He hasn't taken that next step. Maybe the next step for him is to try and play him at guard, but right now they're playing him at tackle, and he clearly hasn't gotten better. Shayez Pete, who we've talked about, he's 6'9". He plays, he's playing guard. It looks kind of odd for him to do that, but, he's a young guy. They just don't have guys 7, 8, and 9 yet. The defensive line room, I kind of feel like we'll need to figure out the rotation. I mentioned this Kelvin Gilliam, and I know some people in the comments, there's some guys who are like, well, I've been asking about Kelvin Gilliam for months now, and you guys talked about him. So thank you for doing that, But, he showed up the other day with practice, but they need to find some of those guys at the defensive tackle spot. Jay Toia, he's getting some opportunity, but it's not really, showing up. Jonathan Bullard, really hasn't shown up like kind of I thought that he might. So that group behind the defensive tackles is a little in flux right now. I like what I've seen with the outside linebackers. I kind of feel like that Sam Williams, Lawrence, Houston, all those guys have gotten opportunity. Marist Liufau has not made any advancement at all. Marist Liufau has not made any advancement. Marist Liufau, if Marist Liufau is going to make this football team, it is going to be as a special teams player. It's going to be as a core guy, because him playing as the outside linebacker, that has not materialized. They're kind of looking at spots. They're playing him at outside. They're playing him at inside. They're trying to hunt a spot. They're trying to hunt a spot because they feel like he's probably going to be on the special teams, is what they're trying to do. But he has not elevated his game, say, like a Sam Williams has. I think the secondary is a pretty deep group, and that's even without practicing with Thompson and not practicing with Locke.
Yeah,
and they've shown that they've got some guys held, and Zion Childers hasn't even been practicing. And then Elijah Clark got hurt the other day, and we'll see with his ankle, how the severity of that. I haven't heard an update. I'll get an update on that for us. But they are rotating a lot of corners. When the ones are in there, there's different corners. There's 2s and 3s corners playing with the ones, with the front 7 ones. So they're trying to kind of figure these guys out. But man, they haven't had their entire safety group play, but it hasn't completely fallen off the map. Now, there's been some times where Hooker and Bell have not looked good together. I think it's more of it's maybe on Bell and maybe some of the lack of some of the coverage skills he has. But overall, though, I like what they've done with Downs and Durant and Bland. Carson's a guy that's been getting a lot of work, but hasn't shown up. I'll say this, some guys have shown up a little bit more than, say, what Carson's shown up at corner. But it looks like they're kind of finding maybe the 6 guys that they'd like to have at corner. And then also, they really haven't practiced the safeties at all. I mean, poor Caleb Downs, he's having to work with guys that aren't named Thompson or Locke.
Yeah.
That's been a little bit, if you want to talk about a negative of camp, Thompson has been a negative because we haven't seen Thompson play all that much.
Yeah. Bryan, just hearing you kind of talk this through and break it all down, it seems like some of the fan favorite guys aren't adapting to the system really well. And I just wonder if that's like old system, old coach carryover, Marist was drafted so many systems ago.
That's him.
To where, for one, you can probably say, well, you can't blame them because look at how much change is going on around them. But you kind of have to, because this ain't the business where we just handing out sympathy votes. Like, you kind of got to step up and adjust to this thing, or that's your ass. You know what I mean? So hearing about him and, Kalen Carson, some of these other guys, and even you mentioned the other day that Wood and Clark were doing a little better than Marquise Bell was at safety or whatnot, right? So I think when we get to like 53-man roster time, all this, and this is why I really don't take part in the exercise, but the predict the 53-man roster thing, that's why I don't do it too early, because we have no idea what CP was gonna bring to the table. We have no clue if these guys were gonna sink or swim. So all the old rules kind of get thrown out the window.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Voch. And guys like Marist Liufau, the guy that I mentioned, we've talked about a lot here in the last couple of shows, has been Sam Williams. Sam Williams seems to have survived coaching changes, where Marist Liufau, they're trying to find spots for him. They're trying. It's like, hey, Marist, play outside, rush. Hey, Marist, play inside, play will linebacker. Here, Marist, play Mike linebacker, Marist Liufau is going to get a chance in preseason games, and Marist Liufau, but he is going to have to fight his way on this team, because what's happening is when he's getting reps, there have been others that have shown up better than where Marist Liufau has played at this point. So always keep an eye on these things, but I just feel like, though, to me, the biggest disappointment, and this is on defense, the biggest disappointment to me is we have seen the two safeties that were brought in, Thompson and Locke, really do anything. And I mean do anything because they haven't been available. That's, if you look at this defense, you're saying, man, what give me something about this defense. Yeah, there's a lot of positive things that you can, you can see about the positives of Bryan playing the Mike linebacker. You can see that. You can see Clark and Williams and those guys and how they've developed. You could see some of the things with Downs. But, man, if you say, well, give me something that's bothering you, no Thompson, no Locke, that's bothering me right now.
Yeah. Bryan, our guy Smalls knows ball. Smalls talks ball. He says, any quiet camp performances you're worried about, and any loud camp performances you just don't quite trust yet. I'll translate that for you if necessary. Is there any player that you thought was going to have a really good camp that's kind of like letting you down a little bit? And then who's the guy that's getting all the waves right now, but you need to see a couple more practices before you can truly, trust those guys, Bryan?
Well, maybe the Sam Williams one. Maybe that's Sam Williams. I keep talking about him. Maybe 7 practices are showing me. I think Sam Williams has gotten better every day. Maybe that's fool's gold. Maybe when it's time to play games and practice against the Rams and practice against the Saints and play some preseason games, maybe it's fool's gold. I want to say at least he's on the right track of doing that.
Let's do this, Bryan. Let's do this. Let me make it easy for you. Are you at all concerned about Terrence Steele and how he's doing? He's having a very quiet camp right now.
Terrence Steele. We went into camp feeling like that the biggest questions were going to be about Guyton. We felt the questions were, well, Guyton, man, if they can figure out Guyton. I'll tell you where I went in on this about, and I probably shouldn't say it's a concern, because I kind of feel like I know what Terrence Steele is.
Yeah.
I know what Terrence Steele is. And for me to think it's going to be more than that, I respect Terrence Steele. But if you graded the 5 guys, if you ranked the 5 guys, he is the 5th guy. He is number 5 right now. He's the 5th guy on that offensive line. So I think we know. I think we know what Terrence Steele is. I think we know that there's going to be some plus plays, but there's going to be the 1 or 2 plays. It's like, please don't be the one that kills a 3rd down drive.
Yeah.
Please don't be the one where they just run by you because you didn't get out of your stance fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, far less negative plays from Guyton than there have been from Steele. But I think the biggest disappointment in that whole group is they don't have any of these other guys that look like they're ready to play.
Sure.
They do not have anybody. Bass, he's played because he's lined up and played in NFL games, so at least you understand that. Yeah. But everybody else, whether it's Thomas, guys like that, Drew Shelton's not ready to play right now. I mean, they just don't. These guys are going to get a lot of work in preseason games. They're going to get a lot of it. You're going to see them. You're going to see them out there. Maybe one or two of them will show up, but right now in practice, they don't have 7, 8, 9. They just don't. Hadn't shown up yet.
Let me ask you this about other quiet guys. Like, we've seen a lot from Revel and Kobe Durant, but Bland's been kind of quiet. What's been going on with, is it a quiet because I play corner and just plays aren't happening against me? Or is it quiet because Bland just isn't sticking out as much as Revel or Durant are?
Yeah, Bland has like a practice where he will defend a ball. And maybe it's a slant, maybe it's an out, a speed out down the field. I think Bland is playing, and this is not bad, folks. Please don't take it. You watch Bland, it's like he's pacing himself. It's like, I don't want to get tangled up. I don't want to get my foot stepped on. I just want to go out here and do the drills, get myself in shape. And when it comes time to have to go and make plays, I'll go make plays. I think he's playing. Cautious is a terrible word because he's not a cautious player. I think he's being mindful that his foot is something that he's going to have to deal with probably the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And so he is making sure that he's doing everything in his power while he's practicing here at training camp to make sure that he maintains his health that way, or at least he gets more confidence. There's been balls thrown in front of him and he's tagged off. You're like, okay, I see what he's doing. And there's been balls where he's put himself in position to knock them down and pick himself up off the ground and fight for the next play. I think he's being very mindful of his injury. And I think that's probably why we haven't seen him like Ravel, maybe even more the rookie from Florida. We've seen these guys. We've even seen guys like Josh Butler get more involved in some plays and stuff like that. So I think that's all part of Bland just kind of protecting himself right now.
Yeah, that's concerning. That's definitely concerning. Bryan, if you don't mind, just write this down. I really want to learn about this Gilliam guy. I really want to just watch a day of him. If he's punching above his weight class or whatnot, then he's definitely a guy that we need to keep eyes on, because we just mentioned the depth. We mentioned the bottom of the roster guys. Also, Jay To'e is another guy that I'm just like, what are you doing? Where are we at? Yeah. Because at some point, like, we can holler Quinn and Kenny all we want, but those dudes got to come off the field, and you don't want to lose too much there. Bryan, let me ask you a question. Voch says this. Is the media currently making too much of a big deal out of Ceedee Lamb's drops? I haven't really been keeping up with it in that way. And, Lamb will have a drop here or there, I guess. And our media friends are kind of making it a thing, like the drops are back. I wanted to ask Bryan Broaddus, who got eyes on it. Are we? And when I say we, I mean them. Are they making too big of a deal out of the Lamb drops?
I think there's been some times where I think that's what you get with Lamb. I think there's some times where there's times where he sees the ball very, very well, and he's able to extend his hands and make the plays. And I think I think George Pickens is a natural catcher of the football. And I think Ceedee Lamb is a very much looking into his hands guy. And I think if you watch Ceedee Lamb, when he gets something flashes, maybe he's a little contested, or maybe it's like he didn't pick the ball up cleanly on the breaking, and maybe it's a slant, or maybe it's the in-breaking route, the dig routes and things like that. When he picks the ball up and is able to extend his hands, he's fine. I think there's times where, and it was kind of funny with the mosquito net on his head, that he just was able to, he's concentrating through that mosquito net, to catch the ball. And I think he's working on that when he gets distracted or his eyes come off that. That's where I think the drops happen. I don't think it's just a flat, like he's just dropping the ball. I think when Ceedee drops the ball, he loses that little bit of concentration and that little bit of vision on the play. And I think that's what causes him to misplay balls at times. I don't think it's a lack of talent or anything like that. I just think when you watch him play and you see a drop, maybe the eye level is not where it needed to be. Maybe he's looking at something else. Maybe he's looking where to run. He's thinking catch and go. And I think that might get him in trouble a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Small.
But yeah,
please.
I wouldn't make a big deal about it, but I think I have an understanding why it happens. And I just got to walk you through why I think it happens.
That makes sense. And some of these top guys just have the they drop a little more because they get a lot more targets or whatever, or they trying to do something after the play or something.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing. After the catch, how do I turn it and go? How do I do that? And I think at times that gets Ceedee in trouble.
Gotcha. Quincy says this: if it comes down to Sam Williams and Marist Leofau for the last edge spot, how much of it will be about edge versus special teams?
That's a great question.
Phenomenal
Quincy.
Question, Quincy.
That is a really good question.
Phenomenal.
And you wonder where Nick Sorensen fights.
Yep.
You wonder where Nick Sorensen fights. And this is where the special teams coach, he's got 3 guys. He's got a punter, a kicker, and a snapper. Then, how many other guys are Will McClay and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones going to give him? Are they going to give him 3 more guys? Are they going to give him 2 more guys? Now you have to say, well, wait a minute. If it just comes down to special teams, if it just comes down to that, this is where Marist Leofau could have an advantage, where Marist Leofau could play other positions, but can he play other positions like Sam can? Because Sam can give you some pass rush. We've seen Sam with pass rush. We've seen Sam also play with lack of discipline, though, too. So, man, I would think that Sorensen will go with the guy that plays the most special teams for him. Kickoff coverage, kickoff return, punt team, all those things. I mean, you could even make Sam a wing if you wanted to on the field goal team, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think this is where Sorensen, the coaches are going to fight for the guy that they could use as one of the 40, the 48 that dress and go play. Because if something happens to an edge rusher, you could plug Sam in there and be okay. Right now, if you plug Marist in there as a rusher, it's probably not going to get out of it what you need. But if it just comes down to special teams, I think Marist Leofau probably has the advantage there.
Yeah. That'll be interesting when we get to roster time, because that's definitely gonna play a factor in. Appreciate you, Quincy. Bryan, I got a homework assignment for you, sir, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
I got 3 guys for you. You can take off Toia. We can move Toia to tomorrow's assignment. I really want to know what's up with this Gilliam character.
Okay.
That's one. James Houston. I know he was your second.
41.
Yeah, 41. He was your second leading sack guy last year. So I kind of want to know, has he taken a step up? Has he improved the run game stuff, things of that nature? Who is he rotating with? What side of the ball? I think that's going to be important. And we've been watching him, Bryan, but I just want to super nuanced watch him. Jayshawn Barham. I want to know how much is he playing the mic? How much is he moving down, to the outside to go blitz? I want to know is he processing things well from the mic spot? Is he recovering well from the mic spot. I just got a bunch of questions about Jayshawn Barham. We thought they were going to slow play him because he's a rookie and maybe he's got to earn his star. But if he's about to jump in the fire, I need to know a lot more about Jayshawn Barham, sir. So that's your homework assignment for today. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I accept the homework assignment with pleasure. I think those are 3 quality names, and I will be all over that when we get onto this field here in a few hours.
Now, Bryan, just so I can be clear of who this Gilliam cat is, because I ain't gonna lie, man, if you an undrafted kid and you didn't get caught up in that first wave of film, I gotta wait till you do something. I gotta wait till Bryan Broaddus come on video and be like, hey, y'all heard about that Gilliam kid? That's when I research you after that. Now, Bryan, is Gilliam like a 330 nose guy, or is he like a 315 2-eye 3-tech kind of dude? Like, what do we expect from Gilliam? Where does he line up?
He's a guy that plays really kind of as the old, he plays as like a 3 technique. He's a 300-pound guy. So he's not this 328 guy. He's a guy that, kind of like old school, like back in the day, hit the gap, be disruptive. I mean, there were a couple times where, he just quickly got by guys he's going against. And so we could talk about Shire, like, Pete and guys like that, and he's working around. But I mean, it was literally back-to-back plays. He's playing left, like a left 3, and then gets by a guy there, gets by Johnny Cornelius, and then he moves over the side against Pete, gets by him. And you're like going, well, wait a minute, where's this guy all of a sudden coming from? So yeah, he's a guy that has a little bit of that. He's not a heavy guy, not like say a 328 guy. He's a 300-pound guy that's got some quickness to him in the agility to make guys miss and then to be a little bit disruptive. So we'll see today. He'll probably get blocked all over the field, and I'll come back with you tomorrow and I'll tell you that we need to go find another one of those 300-pound guys that could get up the field.
As long as we have an answer, that's all I care about.
I'll do my best to watch him. Yeah, he's. I will. I promise you, I've got him covered here. I mean, he's number 94. Yeah. There's a pretty famous number here with the Dallas Cowboys, that old number 94. So I'll sure keep an eye on that one for you.
All right, then, Bryan Broaddus, I appreciate you for doing that for me. Appreciate you and all the work that you're doing on location out there at the Oxnard, California. Enjoy your last 2 days of
Thank you,
camp,
sir. Appreciate that.
Because it's still some people that's just kind of asking, and they just let me know y'all don't watch shows. Why is Voch not there? Y'all telling on yourself that you missing shows. Bryan's gonna do the first half. I'm gonna do the back half. So when Bryan is back in this chair, I'll be in one of the chairs.
I'll be the one giving the homework assignments. Is what I'll be doing.
As long as it's O-line/D line, Bryan will
I
be
knew
giving.
this. I knew this. I'm gonna have to take my roster card. I'm gonna have to like make sure. I'm like, Voch, I got this safety I want you to look at.
Don't ask me nothing about Kalen Carson, please, y'all. I ain't got time. Look, actually, Bryan, do I need to give you a homework assignment for some DBs and shit? Because once I get there, it's over.
We'll catch them. We'll catch those DBs on Friday. How about that?
I give you something for tomorrow's show. When we come back in tomorrow's show and we do a recap on Monday or something.
There you go. There you go. You got that right. There we go.
I ain't got time. Love y'all to pieces for tapping in with us. Thank you very much. CrownGlobeMedia.com is where you find everything that you're looking for. All the other shows are there. The merch is there. Go help yourself. Appreciate y'all for holding us down, supporting and all that. He's Crown Globe Media on Twitter until told otherwise. And I'm Voch Lombardi. We'll catch y'all next time with some more hot fire. Crown.